Siyata Dishmaya, we are here in Shar Yichud. We're going to be continuing our series on Sippurei Masiyot, the stories of Rabbi Nachman, and we are doing our second introduction to what are these stories. We're going to learn about what is a story in general. Chazal say, Yafa sichatan shel avdei avot, mitoratan shel banim. Right, we have a rule from the rabbis that teach us that the sicha, the conversation of the slaves of our forefathers is more precious than the Torah of their own children. Meaning the whole story of Eliezer going to get Rivka to marry Yitzchak, and how Avram tells Eliezer, and then Eliezer tells his journey, and then he tells it again back, and the story is repeated a bunch of times. The rabbis say from that, look how precious the conversation and the happenings of the slave of Avram was, that it took up so much space inside the Torah. Just a story that happened to our slave, the slave of our forefathers, how precious is it in the Torah, how much there is to learn there. The first place in the Torah that there's mentioned a sippur, a story, is the shidduch of Yitzchak and Rivka. It's in Bereshit in the 24th chapter, in the 66th verse. And it says there, "Vaysaper ha'eved leYitzchak et kol hadevarim asher asa." And the slave told Yitzchak, meaning Eliezer, the slave of Abraham, told Yitzchak everything that he did. The sippur, the story, is included inside of it all of the miracles that had happened in finding the right shidduch and the answering of the prayer of Yitzchak, like Rashi explains there. We have to ask the question, what's going on here? Slave coming to tell a story to his master of how all these miracles happened, and that takes up so much space in the Torah. And this is what in the Midrash the rabbis say, the conversation of the slaves of our forefathers is more precious than the Torah of the children. Right? Because if the Torah was that much more precious than that conversation, then it wouldn't have taken up so much space inside the Torah. Bereshit, right? Bereshit would have just been shorter, and there would have been more to fill up in Shmot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, and Dvarim. There is an immense value and level of meaning to the actions of our forefathers. And we have to understand that revealing these stories, revealing these actions that are in the Torah, that's what the story is all about. That's the first Sippur Masi that you ever have. The Sippurei Masiyot started with the story of Eliezer, Yitzchak, and Rivka. That's the first story we have of let me tell you what happened. To understand this, we're going to bring a question. מבין מבין האבות הקדושים אצלנו עסק ועניין בתורה רק מיצחק אבינו ואילך. When it comes to finding a shidduch, we only have stories or the Torah making something about a shidduch from Yitzchak onwards. Avram, the father of all of the nation, there's no story about how he got married to Sarah, or it's not talked about in length of the story of what happened there. It says that they were together, but that they were married, but it doesn't say how he found the shidduch. Only from then on, right? Tamar and Judah and his sons and Yosef and Osnat, and there you already have more, but Yaakov and Rachel and Leah, but it starts with Yitzchak. Why is that the case? Why is it that Avram Avinu, there is no story between how he found Sarah? He's the father of all. So we have to understand. Because the shidduch between Yitzchak and Rivka is the first shidduch and the main shidduch that gave birth to the soul of Israel. Therefore, Avram and Sarah, we didn't find a story of how the shidduch was made, the match was made between them, how the wedding was made actually. Because they were both converts. But Yitzchak Avinu, Isaac, our forefather, he already came to the world completely Israel. He was the first Jew, born Jew, completely from both sides. Not one person converted. Avram converted, Sarah converted, so now they're both Jewish. And when Yitzchak is born, he's born to Jewish parents. So he's the first Jew in the world, so to say, the first soul of Israel that comes into the world, completely. Therefore, the Torah goes and tells such a lengthy story of how the match was made with Rivka, because the whole entire house of Israel was made from them. And this story is a very fundamental part, at the core, so to say, of the birth of the soul of Israel into the world. Right? The soul of Israel was created before the creation of the world, and it's the purpose of the world. Israel lalu b'machshavat tchila. This soul of Israel was the first thought, and then a world, in order to connect more to that, to bring it into fruition. The world is the vessel to help the connection between Israel and God be stronger. But it's the purpose, not the world. Israel is the purpose. Israel and Hashem being connected is the purpose. But at a certain point, that soul had to be brought into the world. The first person to embody it completely, in his whole entire essence, was Yitzchak. So he's essentially really the first born Jewish father, not convert. Now when he has to go get married, we have to tell that story. Because it's not a convert, it's not the Baal Tshuva, this is a, so to say, a completely pure kid that came into this world completely as an essence of Israel. How do we raise that? How do we marry something like that off? It can't be with the women of the land. It can't be with the people that are backward. It has to be with a person with good traits. You have to go into depth into understanding what it is that a shidduch for the father of the whole entire Jewish people is. And according to what's explained in the Kabbalah, all of the souls of Israel are included inside of Yitzchak and Rivka. So the story of the shidduch between them is the fundamental stone, rock that everything is built from. And it's the core and the essence of every single shidduch that will ever be made in Am Yisrael, between a man and his house and his wife. That unification always has to be in that way. And from now we will understand, when the Torah goes in such a length about finding the shidduch of Yitzchak and Rivka, so this is a testimony for all of Israel for generations, because every finer detail inside this story are big roots of what will happen to Israel for all generations and all times. From receiving the Torah and becoming chosen as a nation, until they come inside the land of Israel to do with Tikkun Olam, rectification of the world. Be'malchut Shaddai, we do Tikkun Olam by way of the laws and the kingship of Hashem, not by way of other things. באופן המשכת נשמות ישראל לדורות עולם עד כי יבוא ינון. In order to continue to bring down the souls of Israel to this world, generations, until Yinon will come, until the Mashiach will come. That's why the Torah has to tell us so much about this, because it is the ultimate shidduch. It's the primordial shidduch. It's the first actual shidduch that ever happened, Yitzchak and Rivka. And any shidduch that's made between Nishmat Yisrael, between the souls of Israel, all comes from that. And from this we will understand why the rabbi said, how nice is the conversation of the slaves of our forefathers, more than the story of the Torah of the children. There's a lot of depth here, because the story of Eliezer, the slave of Abraham, is an integral part of the Torah that you can't remove from the existence and the happening of the story and the shidduch of Yitzchak and Rivka. Because it was by way of the hand of Eliezer that there was the ability to bring this shidduch to practically happen. He's the one that went back to Iraq to find Rivka and Lavan and Betuel and that whole house, and to find the family of Avraham Avinu, and to take this girl to test to see if she's the right one, to bring her back to Yitzchak. He physically was the person that actually made it happen. So the story of what happened, meaning the path, the preparation for the actual shidduch, and that's why Eliezer had to come and he had to tell Yitzchak everything that happened on the derech, baderech. Right? Rabbi Nachman at the beginning of the stories, he says, "B'derech siparti sipur." On the way, I told the story, and everybody that heard it would arouse themselves to tshuva. They would wake up out of their slumber. On the way, I told the story. So too, where does he get that from? Eliezer, the way to Iraq, to Ur-Kasdim, to Haran, the way back, what happened. He had to tell all of that to Yitzchak, and that's only how he prepared Yitzchak for the shidduch, by telling him the way that he made it happen. B'derech siparti sipur. On the way I told the story. So too we have to understand. Sheken hadavar gam b'sipurei haTorah ad matan Torah. Until matan Torah, until the giving of the Torah, right? Until Moshe received the Torah from Har Sinai, everything was in the idea of derech eretz shekadma laTorah, the way of the world that comes before you have Torah. Just what it means to be human. So to say, the preparation, the formation of the Jewish nation that will keep the Torah, just in the way of how we developed as a human being, as a human race, that then was given practices and revelations and became also having and including inside of it a religious aspect, right? But that's all derech eretz. It's also to say the way to the Torah. Shekol mesupar b'chumash Bereshit v'chetzi Shemot. Everything that happened in the whole entire book of Bereshit, Genesis, and the first half of Shemot, of Exodus. En ze rak sipur dvarim be'alma. This is not a history book. It's not just what happened in the history of the development of the Jewish people. Like a lot of people make the mistake of thinking, and like the Zohar warned people not to do. Everything surrounds the story of the forefathers, the holy tribes. Kasher ne'eltzu Am Yisrael leredet leMitzrayim, when Am Yisrael, the nation of Israel, had to go down to Egypt, which is all essentially the introduction to the giving of the Torah and Am Yisrael being chosen to represent Hashem in this world. That story is not just the history of the world. No, it's look at all of the process that led to this person, Avram's family, right? Or Adam developing into Noach, Shem, Ever, right? Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Look at all of this. That's why you're the nation. That's why this family developed into becoming the people that were chosen to represent Hashem in the world, and eventually will bring to the rectification of the world by way of the kingship of Hashem. It's all an introduction, but it's connected to what's going to be. Derech Eretz, it's the way of the world. Shekadma laTorah, that came as an introduction to Torah. V'imein Torah and Derech Eretz. If you don't have Torah, you don't know manners, you don't know ethics, you don't know how to understand introductions. It goes both ways, right? There's a way into the Torah, and the Torah is meant to teach you the way back into the world. It's meant to go both ways. כי כל מה שקרה לעבוד לשבטים הוא גם מה שקורה לעם ישראל כעת בכל דור ודור. Anything that happened to the forefathers, the foremothers, and the tribes is what's happening to Am Yisrael throughout all of the generations, including our times. Then, though, it wasn't in Gufei Torah. It wasn't in halachot. It wasn't in mitzvot. It was in Sippurei Masiyot. Bereshit in the first half of Shemot is the Sippurei Masiyot of Hashem Yitbarach. That's Hashem's Sippurei Masiyot. Right? And if I'm not mistaken, the Vilna Gaon says that there's no pshat in Bereshit at all. Meaning you'll never understand a simple meaning. Anything you read there is Sodei Sodot. It's the deepest secrets possible. Yes, there was an Avraham Avinu, right? Yes, there were these, they're not just made up characters. There is a pshat, but you don't even get the pshat. Like, it's Why? Because it's so fundamental, and that just connects with this, right? You can connect the Vin Lagon back into the Hasidic world, into Reb Nachman's, into Reb Kluger, what he's saying here. That was Sippurei Masiyot. Again, what does the Zohar say, just to bring this down, because he's using the words of the Zohar here in hints. The Rabbi Shimon says, people that look at the stories of the Torah and think that that's the main thing, so to say, are called fools. Tzipshei Olam, the simple people of the world, that's how they look at it. The people that know a little bit more, so then they look at the mitzvot and the halachot as the main thing. But those who stood at Har Sinai, those that received the revelation of Hashem at Mount Sinai, they look at the soul of the Torah. And that's what Hashem's light that's hidden behind it. So there is a level of garments, there's a level of body, and there's a level of soul revelation. The forefathers period and the tribes, that was the level of Sippurei Masiyot, of the story. It wasn't goof yet, it wasn't Torah, it wasn't this is an halacha, this is a commandment. It was the story of the development, the preparation into the commandments, learning, right? The aleph before the vet, so to say. Shem begeder makif, this is the makif, this is a light that surrounds you, encompasses you. It's not really your essence, it hasn't become part of your being yet. It's ideas that you receive inspiration and emunah and bitachon from. But after they became Torah, when Moshe received it and he started to take these stories and he put them inside the sanctity of the Torah, at the core of the Torah, right? Moshe had a decision. Moshe received a bunch of letters, and he also was revealed the Torah of Atikot, much deeper Torah. Moshe kibel Torah misinai. Moshe received Torah, right? And Masar Yeshua, a Meser, Pirkei Avot, when we talk about in Pirkei Avot, there's Kibel and Masar. Moshe received Torah. What does that mean, he received Torah? He was shown a very, very lofty Torah, the Torah of Hashem, so to say, and he received what he could. And then he Masar Yeshua, then he transmitted it 100% what he got to Yeshua. He could only receive as much as he could receive as Moshe Rabbeinu, because he was shown something that was way beyond this world. So he could receive what he could receive. He kibel, he received. Kabbalah. It's only what you're able to receive. You'll never understand it fully. The transmission to the student was 100% what Moshe Rabbeinu intended to give to Yeshua, is 100% what Yeshua received from Moshe. And then later again, it goes back to Kibel and Masar. It says again in Pirkei Avot later, in the later generations, again, Kabel and Masar. Right? Because again, there was another degradation, another degrade of what we really can understand from the Torah. So too here. The beginning was like Or Makif. It's like this hidden light. But once Moshe Rabbeinu made it part of the Torah, he put the stories of Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, like Moshe, I think the Rambam says this, I don't know if I could believe in Avraham and Yitzhak were actual real people until Moshe puts it in the Torah. Meaning because of Moshe Rabbeinu, I believe in Bereshit. If not, it could be like any other mythical story that was told by any nation. Every nation in the world, by the way, has a story of the flood. Every single nation in the world has a story of the flood in their culture. Talking ancient nations, right? Not the United States and stuff, but even they do, because they agree to the Bible, right? But the Sippur Betzim Kedushat Torah nitgala behem or pnimi. The second that they were put inside the Torah by Moshe Rabbeinu, then they went from being this high level of or makif, this light that surrounds me but I don't really understand. The second they become part of the Torah, it had the ability to come down to become an or pnimi, an inner light that I as a Jew can tap into the story of Yitzchak and Rivka and understand how I need to be with my wife, how I need to find my children's shidduch. Therefore, Yafesi Chatan Shel Avdei Avot Mitoratan Shel Banim. The conversation of Eliezer, the slave of Avraham, is more precious than the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's the longest story we have in the whole entire Torah. Yitzchak and Rivka's shidduch. And who's the main character? Eliezer, the slave. We have to understand Torah in this way, right? By way of that, the makif can become a pnimi in general and in individual ideas, right? the bigger lights come down. Now, we'll understand all of the stories that are known throughout all the generations that the Torah, the written Torah has, the whole Tanakh and the Torah Sheba'al Peh, and the connection from that to Sippurei Masiyot of Rabbi Nachman. Sippurim שבכלליות עם הם על דברים שאירעו. Stories in general, they're about things that happened. Event happened, you tell a story about what happened. But Sippurei Masiyot that Rabbi Nachman revealed, אינם סיפורים על פנימיות הדברים שנעשים בכל עידן ובכל זמן. They're stories about the inner aspect of things that happen in every time, in every era, in every generation. בפרט במעשיות שיש להם שייכות עם השתלשלות נשמתו. Specifically the stories that have a relationship to the progression of the soul. His soul, as well as specifically Reb Nachman, right? Nishmato. Like the spider and the fly, which is a crazy story, all about also the progression of Reb Nachman's story. Ki maaseh, an action, a story, it means to, action, right? Maaseh is action. Sippurei Masiyot. Maaseh is an action. It means Surat hadavar ruchani kodem shenitgala ba'olam. What's maaseh? It's the form of the thing before it's revealed in the world. Maaseh bereshit. Maaseh merkava. It's not bereshit. All of that was before there was really anything, right? So maaseh is the spiritual form before it's revealed in the world. Kshaya adayin b'vchinat makif, when it was still in makif, it was still on the way, b'derech, before the Torah. Right? The story of Avraham is not halacha. Right? He kept Pesach. Chazal tell us when he ran and he was making matzah ugot, lushi asiu matzah ugot. Right? He told Sarah, make matzah. Chazal tell us it was Pesach. But it's not, we don't learn halacha of Pesach from there. It was still a makif, it was still on the path. It was still the introduction to the Torah. So according to the reality of now, the present reality, in the story there is already the behavior, the ruling of the Torah, that later will be called Gufei Torah, the body of the Torah, the halachot, Toratan shel banim, the Torah of the children, the halachot and the mitzvot that are going to come out of Avraham saying, I don't want anything from you, not even a shoelace, right? And what did that become? Our tefillin, right? He told someone, I don't want anything from you, not even a shoelace. Just him saying that gave us tefillin. But tefillin is halacha, is gufei Torah. It's halacha, it's the body of the Torah. It's not a story. You have to do this. Where is that rooted though? On the path, it was Avraham saying, I don't even want a shoelace from you. In the story, it's still in its progression, it's still developing in the action. The 2,000 years of tohu, of chaos, of lack of order, of lack of structure. That was just the derech eretz lisa. It was just the way in. It was just the introduction. It's just learning manners before, learning how to be a human being, how to be polite before you can start to do Kabbalah and learn deeper things. Can we be a human? Can we develop as a nation first? Right? Technically, we only became Am Yisrael in Egypt. Pharaoh is the first person to call us Am Yisrael. Right? He's the first person to recognize we're a nation. Before that, we were a tribe. We were a tribe of people. We were just the people. But all of that wasn't just the story of some kind of old ancient tribe. No, it was all preparation of what's going to be in the Torah. What are the commandments? What is this nation going to represent in the world? It's just right now we're in a story. We're telling them. It's still in the maaseh. To bring to this what Reb Nachman says in the first story. Avidat Bat Melech, the lost princess. Anav Amar. He answered and said, "Bederech siparti maaseh." On the way, I told the story. Shekol mi shaya shomea haya lo yiru tshuva. Anybody who would hear it had a thought of tshuva. Yisod Sippurei Ma'asiyot, the secret of stories of actions is the path, the derech, the path into keeping halacha, the path into gufei Torah. Like Reb Shimon said, there's the story, there's the body, right, the halachot, and then there's the soul. There's the clothing, there's the body, and there's the soul of a person. What's the most important? The soul of the person. But I can't talk to you if you're naked. And the soul has no expression if you don't have a body. So to go into the world and to tell your story, you have to put on clothing. But are you about your clothing? Is the clothing the most important thing of you? No. The clothing should lead you to at least recognize that I'm a human being, but that's also not the most important thing. I have a soul. There's something much deeper going on inside here. How do you get to that? You have to tell stories. You have to go on the path. On the path, I told the story. And anybody who would hear it would wake up. Wake up to what? Wake up to keeping Torah and mitzvot and connecting to Hashem Yitbarach on a deeper level. Tshuva kadma la'olam. Tshuva came before the world. So too, Sippurei Ma'asiyot, these stories of actions that are before revelation. What's happening in every generation, every single generation, just before it gets revealed. That's what Reb Nachman was teaching us. Those are what those stories hold. Everything that's happening behind the scenes before it comes into the world. The process, the whole entire ishtalshlut, the Kabbalah of everything. By way of that, you can arouse a person to do tshuva. Because it's rooted in lights that came before the creation. Alpayim Tohu, the 2,000 years of chaos, the 2,000 years of lack of formation, with no Torah, with no blueprint, with no structure in the world. Wild, wild west. That, you take a person back to there, you'll take them to the step before the revelation of the Torah. And now where are they on the timeline? The natural progress is that will go into a few years down the line, the Torah was revealed. Sometimes you come and you want to wake a person up like we learned last time. You can do chesed. What's chesed? You teach a student an halacha. You teach them a way in life. You see a person doing the wrong thing. You say, hey, here's the right halacha. What's that called? Chesed. And then there's Rav Chesed, which is the name of this book. What's a Rav Chesed? Abundant Chesed. That's when you give a person a story. You don't tell them halacha, hey, you should be doing this and this. It's written in halacha to do this and this. No, you tell them a story. And from the story, they get lit on fire and they want to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and they want to go much deeper. The power is in the story. That's before the Torah. And if you get the story right, if you tell the story right, it will be derech eretz shekadma laTorah. It will be the way of the world. Just a story. The way of the world that is an introduction to keeping the Torah. B'ezrat Hashem, that was another introduction into what is Sippurei Ma'asiyot. Hopefully next time we'll start to read the story, or maybe there might be another introduction, start to read the story of Maaseh Chacham V'Tam, the wise and the simpleton. B'ezrat Hashem.